All right. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? Like many of us, I'm sure you're feeling it. Business is hard. And now more than ever, you need to have a plan to help your business not just survive, but thrive. And it can happen as simply with thinking with the end in mind. I'm Marcia Reiner. I'm a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guides your growth, and plans for your future exit because a business worth selling is also a business worth owning. And I want to share strategies that I've earned and learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have some really exciting news. I've just released my second book called The Profit Accelerator. And I'm looking for industry leaders and business owners to interview about my book's 12 strategies and how it would impact their industry. So go download my book for free and let me know if you would like to be interviewed. It's available right now for the next few weeks only while I'm interviewing industry leaders. These strategies can help any business increase their profit, their revenue, and the value of their company without having to pay for additional advertising or marketing. Go pick up your copy at trajectoryprofits.com/book-download. And that'll all be in the podcast notes for you. All right, listeners, you are in for a treat. I have my guest today. Heenle is a certified HR professional with a passion for helping businesses succeed. She has provided HR consulting to more than 200 varying businesses of size and industry. Heenle's experience in sales, customer service, and people management has uniquely positioned her to partner with entrepreneurs and business leaders to recruit and retain a team of their own 5-star employees. I'm so glad you're here. You're a neighbor down the street. We didn't know each other, and then now we're like just minutes away. So I'm loving this. Welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Okay, so I just came back from an incredible conference where I learned a lot about building teams. So this is perfectly timed for my interest in my education. And I think the audience needs to know this, that in order to grow your business, you have to have people. And that is the biggest, strangling fear for a lot of small businesses. And I'm so glad you're here. But, you mentioned in your introduction that you're sales and you've got a lot of experience. How did you get in HR? How did you get in hiring people?
Sure, yeah. So I started with I started my, career working as, I've been in I think every industry, right? So I've done retail, I've worked in insurance, worked in customer service, um, and after I went to college, I, actually decided to take some introduction classes, so try to get a good grasp of what it is I want to do, and that's how I found myself in the human resources field. And then I worked with many small business. With one small business, I worked with my one owner, and she had 4 or 5 businesses under her that she managed, and all different industries just with her. So it was very interesting. And then from there, I moved into this consulting role with Paychex, and I was there for 8 years, and that brought me here into the All-In company.
Love it. Quite a journey. Everybody has their own kind of journey. And I love it the way someone they found their genius, right? Where they feel super comfortable and then they develop a business or consulting firm around it. So I know that that's a common track, but super interesting that, we've all had multiple experiences of starting at the ice cream store and then going into customer service and then coming to a big company and then, finding our place where we're at. But I think every little piece has team around it, right? And I think that there's a big difference from having an employee and having a team member. I mean, am I crazy or
I love that. No, I love that because with your team, you have things like accountability, and you have people who listen to you. You have people who have to work together with synergy to move the company forward. And that is so different than, oh, it's my,
Paycheck.
it's my paycheck, it's my
Right.
coworkers, but really it's my team, so I
Yeah.
love that comparison there.
Yeah, that really hit me on this it was a scaling conference on growing and scaling your business, and I think that was the huge takeaway is that I want someone that has the same values and desires to achieve this goal that I do, and I'm paying you to help me do this. But if you're here just for a paycheck, like hit the road, buddy, right?
Yeah.
You're not part of it, and I like that idea of the team environment because this to me, having employees is the probably the best way to leverage your company is leveraging other people's time. And that's really how you can multiply yourself and have more hours in the day.
Right. I mean, and that's, every business owner I talk to, when we talk about struggles that they have with their people, what is it that they want to do? They want to really clone themselves, right? They
Mm-hmm.
wish that people had their heart, their passion, their drive, and had the same commitment and things to the business as the business owner does. And
Right.
so we talk about, we're all about five-star employees, and it's so important to have every single person on your team share your own core values. So
Mm.
as a business owner, what's important to you needs to be in alignment with what's important to the people on your team, or else you're not going to have that synergy. You're not going to stride at the same pace.
I love that, and it is so important. A lot of I'm in the smaller space sometimes, and they don't even know what their core values are. Right? They haven't even done
Absolutely.
that kind of work to figure out really what is important to me and important to me as a company, and then how do I design a culture in the community that makes everything flow nicely? Because the worst thing you want is a bad egg, right? You don't want that person that
Absolutely.
doesn't fit in. But I love that when you talk about having those core values align with the team members. Um, are there certain core values or every core value that needs to be matched?
I mean, they just need to, like, they have to share your core values in the sense that there needs to be at least an alignment. So I don't know that you'll find, if you
Hmm.
have four or five, let's say you have five core values, um, if so, and for me, right, my HR background, I think you have to approach things objectively. So,
Mm.
when you start writing down what your core values are, and then you start assessing your candidates or your employees against your core values, you want to hit a certain target, right? So at least maybe four of the five are aligned. And maybe one of them that's not quite there, but it's aligned enough. So I don't think it has to be perfect. It just has to be similar. So, like, for example, if one of our core values at the All In Company is attention to detail.
Mm.
So if somebody has just no attention to detail, no appreciation for that, and it's something you can see, right? Whether it's a grammatical error, whether it's double checking things, like we are about double checking, triple checking things, like that's what attention to detail means for us. So if someone is talks during an interview, when we're talking about attention to detail and questions around that, it'll be clear based on their answers if that's aligned at all.
Got it. Got it. So I think these are important things that we need to have because, for us business owners, this is our baby, right? Sometimes we're in it more than we're home. Okay, almost always we're involved
Almost
in it
all the
more than
time, you
we're
mean?
home. I dream about my company at times. It's crazy. But I mean, you know, we've got to make it right. and I think the boulder is big enough to push up the hill that we need the right people that know how to get in the angle and to push it up with us without worrying about, hey, it's 5 o'clock. I'm not done with my task yet. I'm done. I'm out versus, hey, it's 5 o'clock. Is it all right if I work another half hour just to finish it? Or it'll be done first thing tomorrow morning, having those objectives and goals because they know they need to be done and not being, the whip cracker, as a boss to go in and have to motivate your team to be a team, to work for the company, to earn the money that you're paying them. Drives
Yeah,
me crazy.
you're exactly right. So we had, we were working, we had a deadline, right? So and this is a great example. So we had a deadline, like, oh, well, we have a program that starts tomorrow. So so we need this today. And that was it. That was the extent of the communication about like when we needed this work done. And the 5-star employee on our team, he stayed and I could see that he was, still engaging with me and talking to me and working through just a little bit past whenever his normal, like 4:45, whenever his normal time is to leave. And he made sure it was done because that was the
Love it.
deadline. Didn't even have to ask. And like,
Love it.
and it's not, and it's very, results oriented, which is another one of our core values or one of the other qualities of a 5-star employee is they achieve desired results.
So let's go through that. So how many check marks are we going to have or features are we going to have in a 5-star employee, and what do we need to look for?
Sure. So you do have 5 different stars in your 5-star rating system.
Perfect.
Intentional
Easy
right
to
there.
remember.
Yeah. In case you don't, it's right behind me in my fancy new logo board. So the first star is your core value alignment. The second star is, whether the candidate has your 11 universal qualities of a 5-star employee. And those are things like supportive, if they're collaborative, if they're proactive, flexible, if they complete tasks, achieve goals, if they produce your quantifiable results, if they're listen, if they learn, if they're limber, and if they're open to feedback. So
Love
you're
it.
looking for a passing score on those 11 qualities, which for us is about a 7. If you're looking to add numbers to that, and then your third score is, does the person have your role specific aptitudes that you need for the job, right? So if the person,
Right.
is it a checklist person? Is it someone who's in organizational planning? So we have, there's so many aptitudes out there. So you have to
Right.
decide, well, what are the aptitudes for the role, and does this person have them?
I think
And
so many people miss that. They look at their skill set, but not the way they handle their job, right? There's how
right.
they enter the skill. Whew.
Yeah, and I mean, and so it's so important to have both because you have to know what you're looking for in order to find it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like at a kind of basic level. So if you haven't really looked at the role that you're hiring for, or the roles even in your organization that you have, then you're going to have a very tough time finding that person to help you push the boulder up, right?
Right.
So like we had somebody in our organization and our client's organization, and they were, talking about, oh, I need someone who's limber, right? And so
Like
a
stretching limber, like they could,
limber,
stretch their leg up here and reach
like
behind their
more
back.
like more than flexible, right?
Okay.
So, if you're going to be okay with but what does that mean for you, right? Does that mean scheduling? Does that mean work assignments? Does that mean um so what does that mean for you as the
Fill other
business owner?
positions, backfill here, move around.
right, cross
See,
training. So it could be
sure.
for you and I, that same word can mean so many different things, right? So we need to clarify and get very specific, and then that's what we look for.
Nice.
And then the fourth star is the skill set, of course, right?
Hmm.
And pro tip here is when if I'm interviewing you and I say, hey, can you type 150 words per minute? If I'm the interviewee, I'm like, yes, I can. Does that mean I have that skill set? No, you have to test it, right? Who
And
wouldn't
are they correct at 150 words a minute?
so
That's how
many
many
things?
errors.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like that's a big, misstep that I see is people are not testing the skills. They're just kind
Mm.
of um
Accepting
ass-
it.
accepting it, right? And then they're surprised when the person can't do the job, right?
Right.
And then lastly, they have to produce for you. So they have to produce for you at 3 times at their return on payroll rate.
I love that. That has been such a fantastic concept that came both from you as well as the conference, is that your employees have to pay for themselves, because that's a
Times
big
three.
fear. Times three. But that's a big fear of us employees. It's like, okay, now I've got to take out of my pocket to pay somebody to do the work. No, that person is either freeing up your time, or they're out producing, or they're out generating revenue. They're doing something in the organization that helps to grow the organization and pay for themselves. So I love that that's your fifth star, because it's tremendously important
Super important.
for the
Yeah.
business owner.
And I find sometimes like people don't, people oftentimes are like, well, what is my biggest cost as a business owner? I mean, hands down,
Yes,
it's your payroll because you
right.
have these 1, 2, and 3 star employees who are not producing the right results for you. I mean, it's very it's a very valuable task to do is to work through some reverse engineering exercises and figure out what you need in your business to be profitable so that you can not only because you need to know that information, but you also need to know that information so that you can staff appropriately and then
Mm.
hire the right people. And if you are looking for a salesperson and you're telling the salesperson right there in your job posting, you're saying you need to close, 30
XYZ.
XYZ a week. Like that should be a challenge for your 5-star sales people who would love it and accept it. And for people who are like, oh, that's impossible, you don't want them to apply anyway.
I love it. It is really important that you hire slowly, right? You go through the time to check their references, check their skill set, ask them valid questions, make sure they fit in with your culture, right? And they have the aptitude to do your job. When you do that, it makes your employee more successful. But the flip side of it is, if you don't have a 5-star employee on your team, get them out of your team
Get them
ASAP,
out.
right? Like yesterday, fire them, within all laws, and especially here in
Sure.
California, you got to stand on your head
Right.
to fire somebody. But,
Do it.
it is really important that you have the right people to help your company grow in the position it needs to grow in. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself that I don't want a 4-star employee, like, period.
Nope.
I only want 5-star rock stars that, you know, understand my language, that are going to do what I ask them for and grow the company. Because if they grow the company, I'm able to pay them more and reward them more. And they've got that accomplishment kind of thing. But how hard is it really to hire people that think the way I do, or you do, or as the owner of the company, that kind of owner mentality?
It's not as hard as you would think. I think you have to, from a recruiting standpoint, you need to first, set up your process and set up these tools so that you're ready to hire a five-star employee. So if you don't know what you expect, if you don't have the details ironed out, if you don't know what your core values are, you haven't quite yet figured out what you're looking for, and that in of itself is it's not so
Valid.
attractive to the five-star employees. So one, you've got to spend the time um, to work through these and figure this stuff out and figure out a process and have it become so easy. And then two, when you are recruiting, where are you recruiting? Are you recruiting in one spot where every other organization is, or are you trying to be a little creative with it? So we had a pizza company that we worked with, and he was, he needed people who lived in his geographic location within like 30 or 40 miles. And so, we talked through just like his recruiting strategies, and we kind of came up with a clever idea to, recruit right there on the pizza box. So having a little
Mm,
like, sticker or flyer or something on there, because you're going to capture the people who are local. So you need to talk it through and think about the people you're trying to find, and then you've got to find them. You've got to get as many applicants as possible.
sure.
Five employees, like they represent the top 15% of the available talent. So they're out there. You just got to find
But
them.
I'm thinking more along the lines of if I want someone that has an ownership, business owner mindset, they're
Mhm.
probably already going to be business owners, right? you know,
I mean, maybe I mean, people like to be held accountable.
mm.
And so like when you say business owner mindset, what specifically would you be maybe looking for? Or what do you think
Well,
people are looking for?
yeah, exactly. Someone who's like you said, a lot of them want those goals to be achievable and ahead of them, but that business owner
Hmm.
mindset thinks differently, right? They're thinking about
Right.
the big picture. They're thinking about how do I do it? And they're not limited by, oh, well, it's 4:45 and I'm done in 15 minutes, or what do you mean I've got to drive over there and pick that up? Or worse, what do you mean I've got to backfill for Susie because she's got COVID, right? That's not
Right.
my job, right? Or it's not my mentality. It's all of those things that like you just get it done because this is the direction and this is the goal of the company is, we work in that team model. I think that's something that's been really hard to find because when you interview someone, they're sitting up, they got their best shirt on, they're in their best thing, they're coming off as like, yeah, I'm a rock star, and then you get them in there and they're like, forget it, right?
Yeah.
And it's not always what they pretended they were when they did that interview. So that's what I meant about really
Yeah.
truly finding that business, that person that's going to help you grow that company, that they're not just there for the paycheck.
No, that's great, and thank you for clarifying. So for us, what we find is, um, you will be more successful in your recruitment process, especially with your interviews, if you take the time to invest on the recruitment side. So
Mm,
spending a total of 3 to 4 hours with these candidates through the recruitment process to make sure that they are this right fit, this business owner mindset, and that they do have, these 11 universal qualities as well as the aptitudes that you need for the role. And this business owner mindset, like I think that is very much aligned with the 11 universal qualities of five-star employees. And so,
love it.
so our interview process for the 11 qualities is probably about an hour and a half.
Wow.
So
Wow.
like, and that is, you can learn so much about a candidate through our specific questions and through the storytelling and getting the candidate to talk through their experience, to talk about, well, when does the workday end for you?
Mm,
Right? So, like, is a person going to respond with, oh, at 5 when my shift ends, or are they going to talk about, well, when my work is complete? And then
right.
maybe asking them a little bit more about, oh, well, you know, what tell me like how your work day ended yesterday, and kind of calling them on their if
Yeah,
if
their
they're
stories,
their
right? They've got
stories.
good they've got good answers up front to get the job, right? Maybe they should be in sales.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, so we are finding that going through this like objective process to hire people is going to yield you those business owner mindset people, because that's a five-star employee.
right. Love it. So a lot of us are small companies like onesie, twosie, maybe there's a
Yep.
couple other employees. How do you feel about getting outside people to help you with the interview process? So like you do the first interview and then you ask another business owner to maybe, if they have time or their friends or whatever to ask them some different questions and kind of get a different angle. How do you feel about that?
I think that's an interesting idea. I think if with our five-star recruitment system, it's about the questions and the
Mm,
score, right? So somebody who um you're going to allow that person to give a score and make the assessment for you. You want to make sure that they have a very good understanding of what you need. So I would say
sure.
before doing that, maybe have them sit in on an interview with you and
Of
compare
course.
the scoring and talk about the results. And if they're aligned a couple times, then that's then it.
Just more about the angle of a different mindset, a
Mhm,
different person interviewing, like maybe even having, if we're a small company or if we're a bigger company, obviously we have the owner interviews, the manager interviews, and then, someone else comes in and interviews. So you have different options. But with us smaller companies where it may only be us or it may be us and an employee, it's hard to get that kind of different angles or different
mhm.
views or opinions of the employee, and that's or of the candidate, and that's why I thought, who
Yeah.
else could we get to
Yeah,
interview them
I
to
like
have a
that
different
idea.
angle?
I feel like, yeah, I think that like that perspective is helpful. Like if we work with a lot of, you know, um, small businesses, and it's helpful to have another perspective and to talk through it.
Sure.
Um, but we do at the end of the day, we like to see the assessment of the candidate based on your objective rating. So if you're,
100%.
so if you're talking to somebody and they're like, oh, well, there are three on this, that should be the score that you use, because that's kind of how you felt at the time, right?
And I love it having a system to be able to go through and interview the process rather than going, oh, today's a great day and she looked really cute today, or he was really nice to me and I thought he'd be a great candidate, rather than going through a 5-star system to be able to analyze every single candidate on the same rating factor. And whether I'm feeling in a good mood or not, I'm gonna hire the right person based on the qualifications. I think that's super important to have in place.
I mean, and it makes it like right now, like what I find is, a lot of business owners, they just dread hiring people. They hate recruiting, they cringe, they're like, oh, oh,
Because it's like you're
and
giving an approval on someone. You're telling someone, I approve you or I disapprove you. And then the fear of what happens if they're not what I thought they were. It's
exactly right.
always
So
such an icky position to be in as a business owner.
yeah, and so we are trying to change that, right? So we want this process to be easy for you and for business owners, because we want businesses to scale and to grow. And like
You need people.
every entrepreneur I know has another project, has something else that they're thinking of that they want to do and keep growing and growing. And you can do that once you have the right people in place. It doesn't have to be a ton of people. It could just be a couple few key people, because five-star employees, like one five-star employee will do the work of two or three, less than five-star employees. So very cool if you have the right people in place. And when you have a simple process, then you can start thinking of recruiting as a little bit more fun, right? So
Mm-hmm.
fun and easy. That's what we want to do. That's our goal.
Love it.
So like
Love
our
it.
clients will okay, we're interviewing. Here's packet one, here's packet two. Let's go. Everything's automated and it's a process. Like it makes it so much more fun and will yield better results, which is always
And
great.
exactly, and accurate with the results was what I was going to say. Yielding results and hiring the right person for your team, you need to have a system in place. And I love it that you are completely systematized and can help today's business owners get through the icky part, right? Hire the right team member that can help them push that boulder up the hill. So awesome, Heenle. So okay, we're at the end, and I know we could keep going on this conversation here because it's super valuable and it's absolutely necessary for business owners to grow, to have the right people on their team to do this. But where can listeners find out more about you and the All In Company?
Sure. So I'll definitely include my email address in your show notes. And then if you want to take a 3-minute assessment with your own employees, if you go to the 5staremployees.com/never settle, you'll see yourself with a quick litmus test where you can assess your existing talent and fill it out, talk to me about it, and let's find you your own 5-star team.
Love it. I love it. So you can go back and you can analyze them. And then once you realize that one of your team members is only a 3-star, I'm sure you have a whole bunch of steps and skills to get them back to the 5-star, or you have to cut them loose, right? So
Absolutely.
perfect. Super valuable. All right, listeners, I hope you have found a couple of ideas to put into your business that will help you become more profitable. Hiring the right people to do the right jobs at the right price and getting only 5-star employees, I think is the best way to do it. So check out Heenle's offer there and analyze your current team, analyze yourself, go in and build out your new plan. So awesome. All right, don't forget, it's never more important to focus on growing your business, and putting the right people in place is definitely a way of growing your business. Pick up my second book. It's brand new. It's called The Profit Accelerator. And again, I'm looking for industry leaders and business owners to interview about how my book's 12 strategies impact your specific industry. Please download my book and let me know if you're interested in being interviewed. It's available for free only for the next few weeks while I'm in the interview process for industry leaders. And again, these strategies can help any business owner increase their revenue, profit, and the value of their company without having to pay for additional advertising or marketing. Go pick up my new book, The Profit Accelerator, at trajectoryprofits.com/book-download. That'll also be in podcast notes. So, wow. Tell us your horror story. Give us your best employee story that you have. Ask us questions. Heenle and I will be in the chat. Go ahead and chat and tell us what your questions are or your stories were. We would love to share them with you. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to today's show. And as always, you can catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks, Heenle.
Thank you for having me.